let's take a look at an introduction to racism. While race is believed to be a function of physical and biological variations, ethnicity may or may not be related. The use of race as a category of evolution or major division in the human species has no evidence in science. There's no biological basis for racial differentiation and discrimination. However, it's a fact that external appearances, color of the skin in particular, but also other traits including facial features, are often used to categorize and treat people differently on the basis of perceived racial identity. Race is related to the external appearance of an individual. Ethnicity, in contrast, denotes shared cultures, spirituality, values, language, beliefs, and loci of control of a particular group of individuals. Racism can be defined as a belief that some races or ethnic groups are superior to others, used to devise and justify actions that create inequality between racial groups. Racial and ethnic discrimination are closely related to ongoing stereotypes prevalent in society. Stereotypes may influence employers to make decisions that do not conform to the law or spirit of equal opportunity, to prejudice individuals for recruitment or career advancement, or to affect where to set up offices or manufacturing sites as an example. Although stereotypes are generally negative, positive race stereotypes also exist. Some such stereotypes which assume that certain ethnic groups have a strong work ethic or quantitative ability. Additional workplace factors such as competence, learning, and performance are also affected by discrimination. Racism refers to the use of power to deny or grant rights, respect, representation, and resources based on the color of skin. Structural racism refers to a system in which public policy, institutional practice, cultural representation, and other norms work in ways in which perpetuate racial group inequality. It identifies dimensions of our history and culture that we've allowed privileges associated with whiteness and disadvantages associated with color to endure and adapt over time. It occurs regardless of individual prejudices, beliefs, or intentions, and encompasses both individual and institutional forms of racism. Individual forms of racism are related in adverse stereotypes and discrimination that stem from conscious prejudice or racism and individual acts of discrimination. However, overt and visible forms of racism are the tip of the iceberg. Most racism is hidden, built into the fabric of law, ideology, and institutions. Internalization, self-blaming of reoccurring and systematic discrimination, and individual and community responses to the experience of discrimination are also important. This can mean being emotionally and physically battered to the point of believing that oppression is deserved. In general, prejudice is viewed as feeling, thinking, and holding negative attitudes about other individuals or groups. Prejudice results in the manipulation of one's behavior or interaction with others, and typically involves constructions of power and therefore dominant and subordinate individuals and groups. Exclusion, often a result of prejudice and discrimination, occurs when individual communities are denied the rights and opportunities that are available to others. Ultimately, these differences and the ensuing prejudice, discrimination, and exclusion related to it affect individuals psychologically and ultimately affect their workplace motivation, collaboration, and performance. Social pain caused by discrimination causes distress and ultimately disease and impaired functionality on the part of an individual. An intersectional approach to diversity seeks to understand the connection between several dimensions of difference. Intersectionality relates to how two or more dimensions of diversity, such as gender and race, may result in multiple and intersecting layers of discrimination or disadvantage. Intersectionality means taking into consideration all the factors that structure identities and experiences of oppression: gender, race, ethnicity, religion, class and social status, sexuality, physical ability, age, and so on. Women, in particular ethnic minority women, are frequently affected by multiple layers of discrimination in society and in the workplace. While diversity and equality policies in many countries and organizations focus on gender, more often than not, beneficiaries of such initiatives are white women. Little to no attention paid to the unique issues and challenges facing other women who continue to experience higher than average unemployment rates and slower than average career growth. Many of the feelings of workplace powerlessness experienced by women stem from an array of different experiences. Women are more likely to be reported as black if they receive welfare. Having been incarcerated makes them more likely to be perceived as black, while suburban residence leads to interviewers to identify people as white. Our experiences and our place or geography affect how we think, discuss, and even see things when it comes to race, class, and gender. For women, these experiences include, in addition to underrepresentation, less pay, and subtle forms of discrimination. Racial consciousness is a step towards anti-racism. Being blind to racism is a type of racism itself. Some examples of this include failure to see evidence of racism, not making racial justice a priority, or not developing the necessary expertise to eliminate systemic racism. Although research and anecdotal evidence suggests that managing diversity efficiently could reduce racism and increase organizational success, certain scholars suggest that racism is a normal part of society and cannot be completely eradicated. However, the role of diversity management in alleviating racial and ethnic discrimination at work can't be ignored. Studies have been shown a positive correlation between successful diversity management and increased organizational performance. Discriminatory tendencies can be considered under the following sub-constructs. Young children are often perceived as being untainted by the negative social biases that characterize adults, but many studies reveal that stereotyping and prejudice exists by the age of 4. An occupational stereotype is a perceived attitude about a particular occupation, about people who are employed in that occupation, or about one's own suitability for that occupation. Potential job applicants may be inhibited from seeking particular jobs because of occupational stereotypes. Characteristics such as race, sex, and age factor into contact between individuals. On a daily basis, people make formal and informal judgments about their own personality traits and the traits of others. Labels play an important role in defining groups and individuals. As long as a group is ostracized or otherwise demeaned, whatever name is used to designate that group will eventually take on the demeaning flavor that has to be replaced. Intolerance is an integral part of the way individuals express their feelings of incompleteness and inefficacy. Intolerance often emanates from low levels of maturity within the individual. Xenophobia usually refers to a fear and hatred of anyone or anything that is foreign or strange. Ethnocentrism refers to an evaluation of other cultures according to one's own cultural perceptions and standards. In recent years, racist attitudes have evolved from being blatant and hostile in nature to being more subtle and ambivalent. Subtle discrimination is often difficult to identify because of its covertness. Racial diversity interacts with business performance in terms of productivity, return on equity, and market performance. There are important dividends attached to effective management of racial or ethnic diversity at work. The successful integration of diversity in the workplace leads to increased performance, well-adjusted employees, and satisfied customers. Organizational transformation means moving organizations in a direction that can foster the creativity and the productivity of employees from all different backgrounds. These transformations require active involvement and engagement. Managing diversity for strategic and competitive advantage is an ongoing process of addressing the full array of diverse issues that impact the business performance of an organization. These issues include the changing workforce, shifting employee values, new and emerging markets, globalization of the enterprise, mergers and acquisitions, the impact of technology, and information systems. Employees can realize their potential when they can flourish autonomously, freely express their beliefs, concerns, and hopes. However, for this to happen, it's important that they have rights to the means to express themselves. Successfully implemented diversity programs result in a balance of organizational power, inclusion in decision-making, and equal opportunity across all participants, which in turn may lead to a competitive advantage for the organization. The success or failure of diversity management programs can be attributed to whether employees believe the programs to be fair and equitable. The development of a strong community among a diverse workforce has positive implications for productivity at work.